Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? What I wanted to talk about in this video, right, is how, I made a video recently, bringing up this, stupid talking point that creationists will make where they'll say, like, there's no proof of a kind changing into a new kind. No one has ever observed a kind changing into a new kind. And what I was pointing out, right, is that there's no proof to begin with that there's a such thing as kinds. Um, Evolution and macroevolution, evolutionary theory, none of that says that a kind, quote unquote, changes into a new kind. Mainstream scientists don't even agree with the concept of kinds. It's a made-up creationist concept based on the Bible, right? There's no evidence that living things are in these groups of so-called kinds, right? And there's not even a widely agreed upon definition amongst creationists about what constitutes a kind. There's plenty instances where some of them would think that two things are in the same kind, and some of them would think that they're in different kinds, and some of them will be unsure, right? So they don't even have a clear idea of what a kind is. And so it's a totally meaningless argument then when they say, like, there's no one has ever observed a kind changing into a new kind, because that's your guys' concept and you don't even have agreement as to what constitutes a kind, right? But so what I wanted to say about in this video is what some people will say in response to that is they'll say, like, oh, well, there's also no agreement as to what constitutes a species or not. And so that's true that there's no agreement as to what constitutes a species. But I don't think anyone is denying that. For one thing, there's multiple definitions to the word species. And this is what's more, species is not like a evolutionist idea as they try and portray it as. The term species dates back to before Darwin, before evolutionary theory. So it's a misportrayal of things when they try and say that it's like based on that the term species is based on evolutionary theory. It's not. And the fact that there's no like wide agreement as to what constitutes a species, that's not like problematic for evolutionary theory in any way. That's all the more what we would expect if evolutionary theory is true, because it's because there's so much fluidity between different groups, and there's not these barriers between groups that creationists try and portray it as, right? And so it's that there, like, for there to be no wide agreement as to what constitutes a species, that's not problematic for evolutionary theory. And evolutionary theory is not contingent upon there being any definition, any specific definition to species. Whereas their arguments will oftentimes be contingent upon the concept of kinds, because they'll say that the whole reason as to why evolution or macroevolution isn't proven or observed is that they'll say that we've never observed a kind, quote unquote, change into a new kind, right? And so they try and have that be their whole basis for disagreeing with evolution or macroevolution, and yet there's no, they don't even have a clear idea as to what they mean by kind, so it's a totally mute point, right? um and so I mean, I'm perfectly happy to agree that, there's no wide agreement as to what constitutes a species. But that's all the more what we expect under evolutionary theory, because we expect for there to not be these hard set barriers between different groups like creationists would want there to be. We expect for there to be fluidity between groups and difficulty in pinpointing barriers, right? So, all right, that's all for now. See you guys.